right, it is CFP Today here on Canadian Football Perspective. Why did I name this when I created it? Canadian Football Perspective. I was workshopping a bunch of names. Kind of saw the way that things were trending in terms of hot takes in sports media. And I thought, you know what? It's a nice, gentle way to be able to preface the conversation for moments such as these that I come to a microphone and I give my perspective. And everyone else out there has their perspective. As always, Canadian Football Perspective is brought to you by Fox 40. Go to fox40shop.com. Get everything you need for your football team. Of course, use the promo code CFP15 at checkout to save 15%. Perspective. The CFL Awards happened last night, and I go to bed very early, especially because I'm not at the Grey Cup this year, which sucks. But I go to bed very early just in general because I have a 4-year-old and he goes down and I'm tired and I go to bed and I wake up stupid early and start doing a bunch of work and all stuff. So pretty out of touch with the Vancouver Grey Cup for the most part, just because A, I'm not there on the ground for the first time in a decade. B, the time change, it might only be 3 hours, but it feels a lot like the Olympics in Japan. Because I know the time difference isn't that extreme, but when you go to bed early, the time difference is kind of that extreme because it feels like it's like 6-7 hours back the other direction because I go to bed earlier than most people. And I also wake up earlier. So I pop out of bed this morning on Friday and I end up like opening my phone and I get all the CFL media blast emails and it's like this person wins this person wins this. And as I was going through them, I was like, oh no, the thing happened to Bo that I thought might happen. Which, again, let me preface all of this. Brady Oliveira deserves to be the MOP in 2023. He's a really good football player. He's an awesome dude. He deserved to win Most Outstanding Canadian. That to me wasn't even close. Most Outstanding Player, I thought had to go to Bo. Everybody at this point, if you're watching this video, you've probably seen what I've been talking about on Twitter and the chart that I sent out because I got basically just pissed off when I popped out of bed and I read this email. I'm like, Bo just had a ridiculous year. And then, of course, what happens when you send out anything on social media that says, this is the greatest season since peak Anthony Calvillo, is the whatabouts start to happen, which is fine. Sports debate is good. It's nice to have discourse on these things. I'm glad that people care enough. A lot of you, honestly, you care enough to argue about it, but do it in such a respectful way that I'm like, man, I am so thankful for the CFL community because like 1 out of every 10 people are just going to be like, hey, dumbass, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's like, well, that's not constructive. But if people want to bring me interesting arguments such as, can you factor in interceptions? Yes, absolutely. Career high in interceptions, totally valid point. If you come to me and say he was throwing a lot in garbage time, there are ways to disprove that because I know Bryson from Pro Football Focus, somebody had tagged me in a tweet that said that he essentially had a vast majority of his yards were not actually in what PFF deemed to be garbage time. I'm actually going back through right now and doing my actual data tracking that I use for the season and catching up on some games so that I can give some of that perspective again in the off season here with this podcast and on social media. But I think there's a lot of valid arguments for and against. I am just a very much a believer that the quarterback wins thing pisses me off because as I tweeted it out, it's such a team game, and I respect people like Doug Brown who tweeted at me saying stats are essentially for losers. I respect Henry Burris who said, Marsh, that's a bit of a stretch. Which, by the way, when you get the old heads starting to tweet at you and tell you like they have an opinion on things, that's when you know you've like actually made somebody angry, which is kind of funny. Because those players don't usually. I haven't gotten a tweet from Henry Burris I think in my life, and he tweeted at me saying, "Well, I don't really agree with this." I'm like, okay, but it's fair. It's good to have the perspective of those guys who have been in the fire and understand what it's all about. But there was a whole lot of people from an older generation who were saying he didn't make the playoffs, he shouldn't have even been nominated. Then don't nominate him. If he's not going to win the thing because you're holding wins against him, why'd you nominate him for the East MOP? If you don't make we should just make the rule going forward. If this is how we're actually going to do it, don't let anybody who has not made the playoffs get nominated for a major award, no matter how great their season was. Because Bo was leaps and bounds better than a lot of people. And again, I got tweets and everything from people saying, well, he had more attempts and they threw the ball more because they had no running game and. That is not an excuse for great performance. If you let Drew Brown throw the ball as many times as Bo Levi Mitchell did throughout the regular season, I don't think Drew Brown is going to have the season that Bo Levi Mitchell just had. So there's a lot of arguments that people have made against Bo. I am just firmly a believer that when you win when it comes to passing yards by that much over the next best person, when you show a level of performance that extends later into the season, even at his age, that deserves some respect. That's a non-statistical kind of eye test thing, but I respect the hell out of that from Bo. So, and also for people that would wonder, like, oh, are you friends with Bo? Is that why you're doing this? I am friends with Bo. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this as a football analyst. I don't care about making Bo happy by telling a bunch of people that he deserves to win an award that, in all honesty, Bo really doesn't care all that much about. Like, he's very focused on what he does and his family, and winning another MOP would be nice. It's not the most important thing. So this is not a Hamilton thing. This is not a friendship thing. This is me, as a former quarterback, looking at what Bo just did and going, damn, that was a great season. And I got people saying, well, yeah, but Brady was the best at his position. I agree. I just think Bo was better at his position, and it is apples and oranges, and it's what makes this such a strange discussion, is how can we possibly go ahead and compare Brady Oliveira and his schedule and the matchups that he has, the people he plays against, the people he plays with, the way that he does what he does, ground and pound and running through people and smacking the helmet when he gets up, to Bo Levi Mitchell and the people he played against in a different division, with an unbalanced schedule, with playing the quarterback position, with injuries all around him, with the people that are on his offensive line compared to Winnipeg's offensive line. I get it. There's 1,000 variables. I just think Bo was more outstanding. That's the O in MOP is outstanding. So, frustrated by it? Yeah. Angry? No. It's an award. That's CFP Today. Thanks to everybody who discussed this with me on social media, by the way. I had a lot of fun with it. Fox 40 is where you can check out everything you need for your team. Of course, go to fox40shop.com. Thank you, as always, to our partners at Fox 40 for supporting everything we're doing out here alongside Grey Cup Week and hopefully into Vania Cup Week as well, which the national finalists will be awarded tomorrow. Coming up, it is the Mitchell and the UTEC Bowl, and it will be the Laurier Golden Hawks traveling to Lennoxville to take on the Bishop's Gators. And then, of course, the Laval Rouge et Or traveling to Regina to take on the Regina Rams. Should be a couple of great games. And the Vanier Cup in Kingston coming up next Saturday. I hope to see everybody there. I will be there in person with my little man Noah, as we will be partaking. We'll be tailgating at about 9 a.m. in Kingston. If you want to swing by, we'll figure out how to have a little CFP tailgate maybe. But thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.